First story, it's all about the post office inquiry.
It is indeed. 14 million of us obviously watched the ITV hit drama Mr Bates versus the Post Office, but the attention is now on the real Alan Bates today. He's become the first submaster to take the stand to give evidence in the Post Office inquiry. Nick, start with you down the line. Tell us a little bit more about it, because this is now it's gone from a non-statutory to a statutory inquiry, which means they have the power to compel witnesses to come, right?
Absolutely right. It's a key development. Just quickly to remind the viewers, as you rightly say, what a powerful documentary that was, Mr Bates versus the Post Office. This goes back to events more than 20 years ago. You're seeing the cast there. Great job that they did. Let's just give you a couple of numbers. And this is one that I would suggest your viewers hang on to. More than 900 postmasters or sub-postmasters were wrongly convicted. 900. In some instances, they lost their businesses, they lost their homes, they lost not just tens, in some instances, hundreds of thousands of pounds. And I think we can now say, unequivocally, we can point to faulty, possibly even criminally incompetent management by Post Office and Fujitsu, who put in the software. What is the inquiry trying to find out? Well, pretty much all the answers to the questions I've just outlined. How it went on for so long. The key person today is, of course, the hero campaign. I think you saw Toby Jones' face put up there just now. He plays the role of Mr Bates. He was the one who suddenly, if you remember that TV drama, locked on to the fact that they were wronggoing and the scale of it. And there's a very moving quote where he said, "We're up against the system and we're just the little guy." Well, there we are. We see him now. Credit to him. He's been a tireless campaigner. He went quite far yesterday, actually, Dermot, in an interview with one of the TV stations. He's actually saying that he thinks now surely there needs to be some criminal charges. And I'll put a full stop there. But I will tell you that later this week, we hear from some of the bosses. I won't name any of them because I'm sort of making out that they're criminal. But you've got to think when this inquiry is over, it could be a case for the police.
Yeah. Sonia, so the way this would work was they'll have the inquiry and then will changes come off the back of the inquiry?
Well, you would hope so, because the government have taken so long, first of all, to deliver financial compensation. And actually, a lot of the postmasters, including Alan Bates, think it's a bit of an insult. When you think what these postmasters have been through, as Nick said, that huge figure, this is the biggest miscarriage of justice in British history. And you can't ever compensate somebody for the things they've had to go through, including, you know, a female pregnant postmaster ended up being put in prison when she was pregnant. You can never make that better, but you can offer financial amends. And the amount, quite frankly, the postmasters have described it as insulting. So there's that issue. There's also the issue that there are hundreds of people who we pretty much know have been wrongfully convicted. Those convictions have still not yet been overturned.
Why is that? Surely, I mean...
I think one of the reasons is because of the way our justice system is not set up to cope with a miscarriage of justice on this scale. So one of the issues with how you get a miscarriage of justice overturned is you have to proactively take it in front of the courts and prove your innocence in some cases. And that is not good enough, and it can't cope with hundreds of people being wrongfully convicted. So there has to be a shift in the system. The government is now talking about what that shift might look like, but it's been a very long time coming. It's been too slow. So you hope that the inquiry will help push this stuff on. But I think Alan Bates' evidence together, there's going to be a lot of people who are interested in it because of that fantastic drama that ITV did. But he's going to be really important. He's giving evidence all day. The boss's evidence is also going to be important. We're going to be hearing as well from people that we haven't heard from before. Like I heard Nick Wallace, the journalist who was responsible for uncovering a lot of this on the radio this morning. And he was saying we're going to be hearing from one of the lawyers, for example, at Royal Mail, who basically just kind of went AWOL after 2013 and has never said anything on the record. And she's being called to give evidence.
She has to come.
She has to give evidence. So it feels funny to say that we may learn something new because we know so much about this miscarriage of justice, but there may still be more yet to come out.
Hopefully justice is served. What do you want to say, Nick? You had your pen up.
Just one thing for the viewers to hold on to. What's very different from if I was under investigation at LBC or any of your viewers at workplace, the Post Office actually is almost unique. It's their own prosecuting authority. So they didn't have to refer charges to get the police involved, which is almost unique in British employment. So they were able to take these people directly in front of the courts with no reference to any third party. And I think, as Sonia rightly says, when all this washes up, We have to have a view as to whether we should invest that incredible level of power where no independent site was ever. There was no police officer, there was no magistrate, nothing. They got to that level. I do think that's something that needs to wash out.
Yeah, you could argue that, I mean, what institution can honestly mark its own homework, I suppose?
Well, absolutely. There are a couple of others. The income tax, HMRC has enormous powers as well. So I do think you have to look at these, and would it be so wrong that an independent body has to be satisfied? Because you have to say, as Sonia's alluded, if an independent body had looked at some of the evidence against some of these poor postmasters and postmasters, the cases would never have proceeded.
Yeah.